Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock potentials and guide them to succeed. Today, I have a very special guest, and this is somebody I've known for many, many years. And he's one of my closest friends over all this period of times. And it's been a blast just getting to know him and working with him, and also collaborating with on certain projects as well. He is so multi-talented. He's done so many different things, but some things you may not know is that he's actually won a beauty contest in Monopoly. He's also played the guitar and harmonica, and he's also performed a song that he wrote and produced on the Buckshot Show when he was 5. So he started off very early being very creative. But that's not all. He's a person who understands the importance of great questions, because you get great answers that can help you 10x your business and your life as well. So please welcome, from Pinpoint Strategies, the face, the Marketing MindBender, Mr. STACY Richter.
Awesome. Thanks, Fong. It's really nice to be here with you, man. And it's taken so long for us to get to this point. I'm glad our schedule is finally mapped out where we could get together and do this today.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being here. How's your day been going?
You know what? It's super early here in Calgary, Alberta, so we're really just getting started. But I've been up for a few hours already, and man, I can't sleep at night because of the things that we got going on. It's super exciting, and I love when you can get 2 or 3 hours of your day done before your competition is even waking up. So so far, it's been an amazing day.
Awesome. Well, for those people who don't really know you very well, give us a kind of quick history about who you are, where you came from, and how did you get to become the person you are today, who works with some very big companies and big names on their marketing strategies.
Yeah, that's a pretty loaded question, Fong. So I'll try and take a lifetime of experience and boil it down into a couple of minutes. But you know what? I grew up lower middle class, single parent family, me and my sister. And as we're growing up, one of the things that was always imparted on me is, the life lesson a lot of us are taught. And it's go to school, get good grades, get a great job, buy a house, pay off your mortgage as fast as you can, and then hopefully you save a little bit for retirement. And that was the family motto, right? Follow the path. And I did all of that, right? I had great grades in elementary and high school, and then I went to university because that's what I was supposed to do. And I did a double degree in information systems and marketing for my BCom undergrad, and I got great grades. And I come out and said, okay, I did it. I did what I need to do, Mom. What next? She's like, go find a great job. I'm like, all right. So I finished school, went and got a great job, started working for a multinational Fortune 500 company, and started working my way up the corporate ladder, right? This is a worldwide company, hundreds of offices around the world in the car business. And I said, okay, Mom, I got a great job. Now what do I do? She's like, well, now you need to buy a house and pay off the mortgage as quickly as you can. And so I started grinding that through, and I found that very early in my professional career working for Fortune 500s that I was not going to be the CEO of Daimler Chrysler. There was no way they were going to make me the CEO no matter how hard I worked, because I just was just not going to work my way through. So I figured out, said, okay, Stacy, you've been taught, go to school, get good grades, get a good job. So the only thing I knew how to do, Fong, is go back to school and get good grades. So I did what was next. I went and finished my master's in business, took a 2-year program. I condensed it in just over a year, got good grades, and lo and behold, I got a better job. But it wasn't a better job in the way that it was moving me down my life path and where I was looking for that fulfillment. It was a better job in the respect that had more responsibility, more accountability, a higher salary, but man, the demands were 10 times more. They were just 10 times more, and the results were 10 times less. And I just knew that when I was working, after I finished my graduate studies, I'm like, this is not what I want to do. This is not where I feel happy waking up early every day, a couple hours, before everybody else gets up and ready to hit the day running. It just wasn't working. And I decided that once I finished my graduate studies, I actually went into my boss's office. So I drove up to Edmonton, where you are, 3-hour drive north of Calgary. And when I finished my graduate studies, I said, yeah, man, I'm done. I don't know what I'm going to do. Here's my resignation. I fired my boss. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And he actually thought it was a joke. It was April 1st, so it's April Fool's Day. And he comes in and he's like, are you kidding? Like, is this an April Fool's Day joke? You drove all the way to Edmonton to quit your job? And I'm like, nope, I'm here to fire my boss. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And of course, I'm a big fan of law of attraction now, but I didn't know what it was at the time. And the right opportunity came up at the perfect moment in my life. And a great friend of mine approached me and said, let's go start a marketing agency together. And I had nothing on the go at the time. I said, well, that's as good as any. And this was our very first meeting, Fong. And this kind of started the windfall of entrepreneurship for me. Was we're at his kitchen table day one in our brand new company. He's like, Stacy, we have enough cash flow coming in to pay both of us for 3 months. He's like, after 3 months, he's like, we only have enough cash flow coming in to pay one of us. So you know where that was going. But you know what? We never looked back, right? We started that business at his kitchen table, never looked back. 4 years later, we grew that marketing agency to 6 offices across North America in some pretty major cities like New York and San Francisco, Atlanta and LA, and never looked back. And that's the start of my entrepreneurial journey.
Awesome. Now, how was that? What was that feeling like the day before or the morning before you walked into that office and goes, you know what, I'm done. How did that drive must have felt very, very long.
It was, it can usually do that drive in 2.5 to 3 hours. It felt like it was a 12-hour drive. I must have rehearsed what I was going to say and how I was going to say it about 1,000 times on the drive up. In fact, back in those days, we probably could have considered it distracted driving, but I'm glad I made it safely and everything was great. But I'll tell you what, once I got through there, the power of making a decision is like taking 1,000-pound elephant off your back. And, the moment I made the decision, I was in the office talking, to my boss, who I got a ton of respect for. They built a great business. It just wasn't the path I was going to be on for myself. And I said, no, this is not for me. I need to move on. Man, I felt so much lighter and the world was wide open to me.
How exactly did the speech turn out? Did it sound like how you rehearsed it?
Oh, God, no. I was fumbling and mumbling and bumbling. I was so nervous. Because again, it wasn't out of spite that I needed to do this. It was out of respect for them and more so out of respect for myself. And I wanted to leave with the relationship intact. That was my biggest goal was I'm not going to go in there and start ranting and raving, throwing stuff, and I don't want them swearing at me and having a bad experience that way. I want to be able to leave with the relationship intact. So that, because you never know where that goes. And at the end of the day, no matter which journey you're on, professional, entrepreneurial, or philanthropic, it's always about how strong are the relationships and bonds you can establish and how do you keep those valuable ones intact.
That's very, very important. I love how you talked about relationships because it turns out that our relationship kind of crossed paths many, many times. From different events to different events out of the city, out of the country, to speaking on stages together, to being on panels together, and also just being on even book collaborations together. So talk to us about the importance of building relationships and how do you do so to be so successful at it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you can ask 1,000 people that exact same question and you get 1,000 different answers. So for my dollar and in my experience, you never know where a relationship is going to go at the end of the day. And you and I are a great example of that. Many, many years ago we met just through mutual connections. Of course, we just continued to nurture that. And I have a few other relationships through similar groups like that where maybe it wasn't an immediate payoff. Right. But because we started on, down the right path, but we had the right outlook, and the one outlook that really kind of started to foster all these great and fruitful relationships at some point down the road was where you set your expectation. And the expectation I set in establishing most of my high valued relationships, whether they were profitable or just spiritual, was that the expectation we have is of service. Is how can I be an improvement to somebody else's life so that they enjoy having me and it's valuable to them having me as part of their journey. Mm-hmm. And where I think a lot of people start relationships is how can this person help me? Where if we flip that around is where can I be of service And it doesn't have to be huge. It's not about, can I go invest $1 million in their business, or, can I buy $100,000 worth of services from them? It's how can I be of a service, no matter how small, whether it's making an introduction to somebody or just being a sounding board for an idea they have. So that has been the epitaph of my relationship building philosophy, is how do I be of service first, no matter how small, and then wherever it goes, it goes. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, by doing it that way, it's fostered, right, the business relationships and friendship we formed as a result over the many years, and now we're here on this podcast and recording. And I can tell you, there's lots of people that have actually translated into tactically hundreds of thousands of dollars into my business mutually, by keeping those relationships going.
I like how you talk about thinking about adding service first, and you're a person that always adds value. You've always been there for me. You've always been there to support. Every time I'm on stage somewhere, I see you in the crowd. Every time I go, hey, I got a new book launch, you're the first one to pick up a copy of the book. And being able to work with you on a book together was also a lot of fun. We actually won awards together too.
We did.
At certain events, and we also had this opportunity. I'll pull this up very quickly. To share a stage with Shark Tank's Kevin Harrington.
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, man. Kevin Harrington was a blast, and to get to learn from somebody of that level of experience and accomplishments. Taking that from him, it's not very often that you get to shake hands with somebody who's got that level of entrepreneurship under his belt. And you know what? No matter how many different celebrities we meet, Fong, I'm always coming to the same conclusion. They're not that different from everybody else, mm-hmm. right? They do think a little bit differently, and they move just a little bit faster. But at the end of the day, sitting there having lunch with Kevin and yourself, and the way we talk and think at a whether it's on stage like that, or at a lunch table, or a boardroom, or even just having some drinks, it is always about how do we launch big vision, and who do we need to get bring in to the team or into our experience to launch that. And that was probably the biggest lesson. We could learn tons of tactics and strategies from a guy like Kevin Harrington, but the biggest thing I learned is he's not that much different than us. Thinks a little faster, moves a little faster, and that's something that everybody can do.
Right. Now, you work with a lot of different business owners, lots of different companies and whatnot. You help them with their marketing strategies. What would you say is the number one biggest reasons why people don't succeed in their marketing or in their business?
Yeah, another loaded question, Fong. You always got these stumpers, but I'll tell you what, it's really simple, is people overcomplicate their business. They overcomplicate the tactics, the strategies they want to use, their business model. They make it so complicated that it's impossible to explain to somebody who doesn't know what they do, much less somebody they're trying to sell their services to. And it really boils down, in my opinion, to this one simple epitaph for marketing. Marketing really is quite simple, and so is business growth. But marketing is all about how do you reach the right person at the right time with the right message and the right offer. That's it. That's the only thing we have to figure out. Now, that's not easy to do because there's thousands of ways to do that and people to reach. And that's the testing game. But I think people overcomplicate it, and they're trying building funnels for an offer they haven't validated. They're trying to sell services to people that aren't really interested. They're trying to draft content, but don't really know who it's for or what they want people to do with it. That's the overcomplicated part. And that's where people start to fail, because when you're doing all of those things that don't move things forward, and I know that's a bit of a cop-out, but it wears a lot on your self-esteem, your energy, and your focus. And when you can't focus and you don't have the energy to build, that's when we start to fail. Because you can only really fail when you give up, right? When you decide to stop, that's the only time you really fail. But it becomes really, really easy when you're tired and you're not getting the response you think you need to do, and you're worried about money because you're not getting the sales that you need to get. Those moments come closer and closer and closer. And it really is simple, right? Who do we need to reach? What do we need to give them? When do we need to give it to them? And what are they looking for?
Now, there's a lot of new business owners, young entrepreneurs, people who wants to break out of their day-to-day 9 to 5 and whatnot. And they do, most of the time, they would overcomplicate a lot of things, not only from that perspective, but also going, oh, wow, look at all this stuff I need to do. I need a website, I need social media, I need this, I need that, all this stuff. And it kind of overwhelms them to even start doing anything because there's all that stuff. On top of that, they kind of think, you know what, I need to be perfect in all this stuff in order to start. So what would you say is the best advice for a new business owner, somebody who wants to break into entrepreneurship? What's that very first step they need to do, or what's that very first thing they need to implement so that they can go and do all the other stuff?
Yeah, that's another great question, of course. The very first step is go talk to who you think your customers are. I think people use marketing as an excuse not to actually talk to customers. And as strange as that sounds, it sounds super silly to say it even on our call today. People are using marketing to avoid talking to their customers. And because the idea of marketing their business thinks that marketing is going to, get the attention and brand awareness they need, and people are automatically going to start flooding in, it should be done the other way. And Fong, that's a $500,000 mistake that I had to learn, right? We had to go out of pocket to learn that as a mistake. Go talk to people directly who you think are going to be your customers, because they will tell you everything you need to know about the service you're providing, the problem you're trying to solve, what they're really looking to pay for. Because it's great to have a product or service that solves a problem, but if it's a problem that nobody's willing to pay to solve, there's no business around that. So the very first thing as a brand new entrepreneur, try and figure out who your ideal customer is. And it's not going to be right on the first go. In fact, I've been at this game 20, 25 years, and I keep finding ways where, yeah, it needs a little tweak here. It wasn't quite right. But go and label who your ideal customer is, and then go talk to them. Find out what they're doing right now to pay to solve the problem you think you want to solve for them. And that's the best learning a new entrepreneur will ever have. Because one, you're going to get an opportunity to sell that person. Because if it is a problem you solve and they're willing to pay for it, they're going to ask you, and that's going to come up. And they could very well be your first client. But man, we got to get out. We got to talk to clients more. We really need to figure out what their problem is, what they're willing to pay to solve that, and then we go from there. It's not figuring out a service and then go finding a problem for it to solve. It's the other way around. We need to figure out what problems we can solve and then design the service for that.
Very, very powerful stuff. You mentioned before that you wake up early the most. You still have high energy, and I can attest to that because just recently I launched a boot camp for mainly my Singaporean friends. And I go, hey, Stacy, if you know anybody who wants to join in on this, it's great. But just so you know, it is going to be very, very early our time because it's suited for Singapore. And you go, yeah, no problem. And all of a sudden, I see you show up, 4 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, are you sure? So tell us more about how do you keep your energy high? And how do you adjust to stuff like that, where all of a sudden you're up at 4 o'clock in the morning or up at 3 o'clock in the morning and still be able to have that energy push you throughout the day and add value still?
Yeah, that's something I struggle with every day, Fong. If I was to say that there's one area in my personal and professional life that I'm really striving to improve, and it's my health. And where it comes down to is, I need to make sure I get enough sleep. That's where it starts and ends. And not just going to bed on time so I have enough time to get 8 hours of sleep in. It's making sure that I can sleep through the night. And that's something I always struggle with because there's things that keep me up. And at night when I'm trying to fall asleep, there's things that, wake up. I think we've all had work nightmares before, or workmares, where you wake up in the middle of the night because we're super worried about something, and it literally wakes me up. So it's about trying to figure out how do I do everything I can to get at least an 8 hours sleep. And that it comes down to I get in the gym as early as I can every day. I'm usually in the gym by 5 a.m. for a 1 hour workout. And then of course, what type of fuel are we putting in our body? I'm not the best example of how to do that right. Like I struggle with my weight. I struggle with my diet every single day. It's a battle, but that's a battle that I'm winning by inches, right? So every inch I take forward, it's, did I eat my, my vegetable servings today? So the fuel I put in my body, and then of course, the way I spend my first part of my day is getting out all of the stress through exercise. I'm not perfect at it. It's not a perfect habit for me yet. I struggle every day, and I battle for every single inch. But it really does come down to how do we create a healthy body and a healthy mind,
Mhm.
right? Because I believe one follows the other. It's not, you can have a healthy mindset first and then a healthy body, or a healthy body first, then healthy mindset. I call it the leapfrog effect. And it's very the same way we grow businesses is we do our best in one particular area until we stretch all our resources. And then we add to it.
Yeah.
So I work a ton on mindset, right? As much as I can. And when I feel I've reached my capacity on what I can do mentally, then I switch over to physical, and then I do as much as I can physically. And now I get this leapfrog improvement, and that's how I move by inches, right? So I don't, I'm not perfect on my meal plan every single day, but if I can be better than I was yesterday, and I'm not perfect on my workouts every single day, but if I can just be a little bit better than I was yesterday, and I'm not perfect at reading 10 pages and meditating every single day, but if I can do just a little bit better than I did yesterday, that's how I move the game. So when we're trying to get ready for 4 o'clock Zoom meetings, to serve different time zones, it's already been a habit. I've already been getting up at that hour, so I'm already have been used to it. Now I can't go till 2 in the morning either, right? Those days for me are gone, because I know when my most productive hours of the day are, and that's between 4 a.m. till 2 p.m. After 2 p.m., my productivity dips. My focus and energy dips. So I'm not doing big business after 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And in fact, I'm usually in bed by 7 or 8 at night. And I have colleagues that work till 2 or 3 in the morning, which is great for them. That's their productive time. So we have our crossover period, between 12 and 3 when their productive hours are. So, but I just know when I'm most productive, when I have the most attention, and I gear my sleep schedule, my workout schedule, and my professional schedule around that.
So it sounds like you have a lot of habits that's been implemented in your life. And habits is one of those things that's really, really hard, one, to break,
Yeah.
and even tougher to actually implement and maintain.
Mhm.
So how did you attack those two things?
So one, I don't worry about breaking habits. Uh, that might be against some of conventional wisdom with a lot of authors who know way more about the subject than me. But for me to break a habit, it takes so much time, energy, and focus that I have none left for anything else I want to do. Right? For example, I'm a big fan of fast food, and it's become so automatic. That's a really bad habit health wise that I would love to break, but I can't break it because for me to resist stopping in through a drive-through on the way home from work takes so much energy and focus to do. Right? It almost feels unnatural because it's so ingrained. So instead of spending that time, energy, and focus breaking the habit, what I've done is I actually implemented what's called tiny habits, which is, can I do something really, really small and do it regularly and feel good about myself? And then whatever the bad habits are, just let them go, right? Continue to do them. Like I still, eat fast food, but I'll tell you what, by creating new habits, and I use the tiny habit method to do that. So instead of trying to be so regimented that I'm going to have my 5 meals a day and it's going to be lean protein, whether it's chicken, fish, or beef, have a good starch and some vegetables, is I'll have an apple in the morning. That's my win.
Mhm.
Right? Or banana. And those tiny habits, something that's so minuscule that doesn't feel like it's substantial in the moment, but you do that 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row, 10 days in a row, all of a sudden, I can celebrate a good health habit all of a sudden.
Mhm.
And what I found is, and I didn't know this would happen, it came as a complete surprise, is my desire for the bad habits just started to fall off. I started going through drive-throughs less, right? And it's nothing, I didn't take focus, energy, or willpower because that only lasts so long. We only have so much in the tank that it just started to stop. I didn't feel like doing those things anymore. And so the tiny habits that I built, whether it was like, meditation, what's the minimum thing I could do for meditation? Well, I would normally try and sit down for an hour in the morning before my workout and meditate for an hour. And I would be good for 1 or 2 days. And then I'd sleep in a little bit. It would fall off. So I started thinking, what's the minimum viable possibility or MVP of the habit I want to create? So for me, it was, well, if I get up in the morning and I throw my yoga pillow down or a meditation pillow down, high five. I did it. That was it for the day, if that's all I could get in. But if I could sit down and take 5 meditative breaths, and now I'm up to, I do that every single day, no matter what, 5 meditative breaths. Once in a while, I'll stay on for 10 minutes. But I can feel good about building that tiny habit. And whatever that is, what's the one minimal thing you can do that at least moves you a little bit better than yesterday. And then all of a sudden, the bad habits just started to go away. I still have them. I still eat fast food, but instead of stopping in on through a drive-through 5 or 6 times a week, it might be once a week, and that's a pretty substantial improvement.
Awesome. Sounds very, very important for people to implement into their lives so that they can have the right habits going forward. You work with a lot of businesses. When businesses come to you and go, you know what, something's not working right, and we need to make a change, we need to implement some new strategies. What's that process that you go through to pinpoint what is actually not working?
Yeah, we start with the question, right? So we built a 5-step process, but it all starts with the question, right? And the question always leads to the answer, where most people are taking a look at, well, what's the tactics you're doing? What's the data telling you? What's engagement? That's all important, but we really need to ask the question. And what the question is, and it varies across every business and every problem, but it's really of what is the real problem we're trying to solve? Who are we trying to solve it for? And why is that important for them? Mm-hmm. And then once we really have nailed down that question, then we can start to look at all the other factors that affect who we're trying to reach and what we want them to do, right? So we get to their influencers, right? Not influencers as in Instagram models who are pushing energy drinks, but people who have influence in the lives of people we're trying to reach and persuade, right? So everybody has lots of different levels of influencers. Can be their coaches and mentors, can be their church leaders, if that's it, could be other business leaders, colleagues, family, media, those are all influencers. And we also need to figure out what are their fears and motivations, right? What are the things that they're scared of happening, but what are also the things they really want to happen? Because when a business starts to go sideways, maybe they're not, attracting as many leads or clients as they want, they're not closing as many, or they're closing them, but they're not very profitable. It's usually a mismatch between what people want and are willing to pay for and the way we're packaging our offer. Mm-hmm. So if we can boil all of that down, that was a lot of rhetoric to say, what part of whose mind do we want to occupy? And what do we want them to do when we get there? Mm-hmm. I'll say that one more time, just to capture it, because it's so vital, right? When we're struggling, either in our businesses or with the clients we're working with, we always come back to what part of whose mind do we want to occupy? What do we want them to do when we get there? Mm-hmm. Okay. So when we can figure that out, it's always back to basics and alignment, right? Because once we have alignment with the people we're trying to reach and the thing we can do for them, business becomes really easy. That's when it starts to flow. That's when businesses start to scale, mm-hmm. right? It's learning those steps all the way up to that we call the growth period before we get to scale.
Mm-hmm. Now, during this period of time, this past year, misalignment has been big. People had to readjust. People had to face all this challenge of lockdowns and COVID and all these other regulations and whatnot. How have you helped them kind of go around this issue, face these challenges, and how did you actually change the way you do things so that you're able to help other people more?
Yeah, so we work a lot in the expert space. Lots of coaches, consultants, authors, speakers. And pre-COVID, we were working with a lot of New York Times bestsellers, people who are looking to be New York Times bestsellers, where majority of their business was done from a live stage. And um, pre-COVID, we're always working with these clients to build them a digital portfolio so that they could reach people, but not have to travel to reach them. I mean, some of our clients were traveling 30 to 40 weeks a year speaking on stages. And I mean, you're a speaker and you've spoken on a lot of stages. It takes a lot of energy to do that. And it's super valuable to be able to connect with a group of people at that level. But it requires a lot of resources to do that. And we are always trying to move them into a digital environment like Zoom or webinars and virtual meetings because of the travel schedule and demands of that. And that was all pre-COVID. So I'd like to think that we were prognosticating and saying, man, we need to do this because something big is going to happen. Truthfully, we were just lucky. We were in the right place at the right time. Because when COVID, hit March of last year and really took hold April, May, a lot of our clients, their entire business was wiped out virtually overnight, right? Where they had 30 to 40 speaking engagements booked for the rest of 2020, literally all canceled with no idea on when they may return. And as it turns out, none of them had returned, right? It's been over a year and a half now of this. So we were really uniquely positioned and very, very lucky to be in the space we are at, which is building funnel systems and marketing systems for speakers, authors, coaches, and consultants to deliver webinars, deliver their services over webinar and virtual meetings. And we were just lucky. But there's a certain level of preparedness that leads into luck, right? We could never have predicted something like COVID was going to happen or have that kind of impact. But it was observing where the trends were going, right? Live speaking was becoming expensive and requires tons of resources. We saw that, there's a way to build a business that can supplement, live stage speaking, and it's through, webinars and virtual summits. That was the state of preparedness we had because we saw where the trends were going. We were just helped a little bit by this massive lockdown that forced everybody online, and we were just in the right place at the right time. So there's always this combination of state of preparedness, knowing where the trends are going in your business, and then when something urgent happens, a little bit of luck.
Yeah, luck has a lot to do with it, but it won't be there unless you prepare yourself and position yourself well to actually receive that luck and implement it, right? So good on you guys. It's been amazing going into the whole virtual space and connecting through Zoom. I don't think I would be doing this if it wasn't for the whole COVID situation. So I found that a lot of entrepreneurs who are always in that forever learning mindset and always improving and growing mindset has taken this as a big opportunity to really expand, if not worldwide, then in the local market to be reaching people virtually as well. So I'm sure that's a lot of stuff that you guys have been able to help a lot of people with and been very successful at as well. Now, you mentioned coaches and mentors before. I know that you have a few coaches and mentors yourself. What would you say is the best coaching advice that you've ever got?
The best coaching advice that I ever got, man, if I have to pick one piece is, and it's going to sound a little cliched, but it is definitely leap before you're ready. And let me break that down. So one of the businesses I was involved in was a fintech company. And I've shared a little bit about that with you, where we were developing a mobile app to help landed immigrants and foreign workers send money home. Those services have existed forever, but what we were doing in our secret sauce was to be able to use cryptocurrency exchanges to be able to do that faster, cheaper, and with much more fluidity than the conventional banking system, especially in a lot of countries where their banking system is unreliable or even corrupt. And I didn't know anything about cryptocurrency, or I knew a little bit about how to develop some tech, blockchain. And now we're talking 5, 6 years ago. This is all super up in the air. Nobody was really knew how blockchain technologies were going to fit in. I just knew that there's something there, and we had this business opportunity, and I was scared. It was going to take a lot of money and a lot of time to do this thing, and there wasn't a lot of information about it.
Mm.
I think even at the time, Bitcoin was maybe trading at $200-300. It was super early stages here. So when you don't have a lot of information or history to go on, and you're looking at your gut, the best piece of advice was you're not ready. It's out of your comfort zone, but you need to do it anyway.
Mm.
And that was probably the best piece of coaching and mentoring advice I'd received, because I learned so much and established so many different relationships. And just venturing into that tech startup got me opportunities that I would never have had. Right? Unfortunately, the tech startup didn't work.
Mm.
It didn't fly. We ended up shutting the business down, and that was part of my $500,000 lesson. But even still, all the mistakes we made along the way, I was introduced to probably I can't even count how many angel investors. I was introduced to venture capitalists. I was exposed to the inner workings of how to raise capital for businesses, whether it's through debt or equity or other private investments. And so everything I've learned and the number of relationships I was able to get access to, I would never have had access to had I not got out of my comfort zone, wasn't ready to jump, and did so anyway. That was the best piece of coaching and mentoring advice I ever got.
All right. So that was the best advice you've gotten. You're now given the opportunity to speak on the main stage and tell everybody in the world one main message that you want everybody else to remember coming from you. What's that message? And it can't be the same thing.
I could say the same thing. I won't say that to everybody because everybody's not me. That was the best piece I got because it was what I needed to hear in the moment I needed to hear it. Sitting on stage, talking to a group of people, the biggest thing I would impart on them is whatever you choose to do, in whatever vertical you choose to do it 100%. Mm-hmm. However you get there is entirely up to you. Nobody can tell you how or why or when. You're the only one who decides that. But whatever you do, when you make that decision, do it 100%. Because one of the for sure paths to failure, there's no guarantees for success, but there's guarantees for failure. And one of those guarantees for failure is lack of focus and commitment to the idea or the movement. Mm-hmm. And so all we need to do to really leverage that level of success is we just pick the volume or scope of work that we can commit to 100%. So if it's a side gig in addition to your full-time job, don't try and have a full-time business in your full-time job if you can't do that 100%. Pick a small portion of that and do that 100%. Because the split focus is a for sure guaranteed path to failure. There's no guaranteed path to success, but there are guaranteed paths to failure. That's one of them. Split focus. So whatever you choose to do, your career, your family, your business, your entrepreneurship, your fitness and health, your mindset, choose whatever you want. Just do it 100%.
Great words to live by. Before I let you go, quick 5 questions for you. You mentioned how much you like fast food.
Yeah.
If there was one company that you are given to run, which fast food company would that be?
Which fast food company would I run given the choice? Man, I'm torn because there's the products of theirs I enjoy, but I wouldn't want to have them as a business to run. So I'm torn. So I'll give you two options. The fast food company I would choose because I love their products, and this is I'm not a paid promoter or influencer by any stretch. I really like Popeye's chicken. I think they're great chicken. The business I would choose to run, given the opportunity. I also like their products. Jollibee, believe it or not.
Oh
I
wow.
Jollibee, they've really nailed it down. Um, if you're not familiar with Jollibee, and there may be many Americans and Canadians that aren't, very, very popular in the Philippines and other parts of Southeast Asia. Making their break here in North America, have done a great job. I love their product too. But when I think about running a business, um, they've got a system so nailed down, it's ridiculous. And when you think of systems and other franchises, McDonald's obviously comes up as one, but I think Jollibee, for the product they're delivering and the people that they've got working for them, I've never seen so many passionate employees about that business. I would take over Jollibee.
Wow. Two companies that's relatively new to our market.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, so you're running Jollibees, okay? And since you're running it, you have the freedom to come up with the STACY Richter combo. No limits. What would that combo have? And what would you create?
Oh man, that's a really tough one because I love what they're doing. Probably I love their spaghetti and the sauce that goes with the spaghetti, and the fact that they cut up little pieces of, I think it's hot dog meat. Reminds me of what I was like when I was a kid. What I would do, I would put that on a pizza. I know it sounds weird and is the weirdest combination, but a spaghetti meatball pizza. I had it once at a local restaurant here. I would love to see Jollibee spaghetti sauce, meat sauce on a pizza. That would be the next product.
Awesome. One person that you would like to spend some time with, dead or alive.
Alive is Seth Godin. Man, that guy has got a brain that just every time I listen to him speak, read his books, I own everything he's ever published. Trying to get my hands on a few things that he hasn't publicly published yet.
Mhm.
I would love to spend an hour or more with Seth Godin.
Okay, now before you take Seth Godin to dinner at Jollibee's, you have to show him a good time. Where would you take him to?
Calgary Stampede, right? When I think about Seth Godin and his resources or any other celebrities that possibly could put on that list, when I think about what's one experience I could give someone like Seth Godin that nobody else could and that he's never had, is show him what the Calgary Stampede is all about. And that's something, a gift of gratitude that I could show him that not many people would be able to show Seth Godin. And there's not many people who could say that.
Awesome. And my last question is, what's success like? Give me a number between 1 to 4.
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. So how is success like a carpool?
Oh my God. Success is like a carpool because it's a group of people coming together to serve one purpose. That purpose is getting to work. Okay. So success is like a carpool because you have, one person in service of others, but it's using shared resources to the common end. So that's why success is a lot like carpool.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Awesome time. I had a great time listening to your stories. Actually, before I let you go, share us more about your song that you produced and wrote and performed, and a little bit about that beauty contest you won.
Yeah, so the beauty contest was a long time ago, and again, it's when preparedness meets luck. So I won the beauty contest in Monopoly, won $50 prize for that. I'm proud to say, I'm probably one of many people who got that. But the song that I wrote, I was actually on the Buckshot Show, and it was a local cable program here in Calgary. And Buckshot, he's a character on TV that served a lot of kids, and he had a long running show. I think it was over 20 years that show ran. But I got to be on the Buckshot Show, the local cable TV, for my birthday.
Cool.
And as part of that, you get to go up and you get to meet Buckshot live on TV. So that was pretty cool. And Buckshot gives you a chance to say hi to anybody you want. I said, I'd rather sing a song. It was a sad country song. I mean, coming here from Calgary, Alberta, or Cowtown, it was a sad country song I wrote about our Saint Bernard George, who died when he got hit by a car.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that a song you could perform today?
I can, but I won't. That's we're gonna have to actually run an event on that, and people are gonna have to pay big dollars to hear that.
Sounds good. Is that a clip people can find on YouTube?
You can't find it on YouTube. I've actually reached out to the broadcast network to see if they got any archive copies. I mean, I'm dating myself. There was no such thing as VCRs back then.
That's true.
YouTube obviously was a distant future. So I've been trying to find an archived recording of that with no luck. So if anybody out there who's listening to this knows where to find, roughly recordings from, it would have been CFCN was the network at the time, which is now known as CTV. Any archived recordings in and around between 1978 and 1979, I'd love to hear from you.
Sounds awesome. Now, if anybody wants to reach out to you with regards to business strategies, marketing strategies, or just for you to analyze what's going on with their business, what's the best way to reach out?
So first place, start following me on Instagram. It's the real Stacy Richter, STACYRICHTER. Instagram at the real Stacy Richter. You can DM me there. Go make sure you go like a bunch of posts. I'm posting a lot of my marketing and business growth philosophies there all the time. Or find me on my website, stacyrichter.com. It's STACYRICHTER, stacyrichter.com.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, your wisdom, your stories. Any last words from you?
No, just find the dream and go after it, everybody. That's the name of the game. And it sometimes those dreams feel like nightmares in the moment, but believe me, you're on your path. If you just commit to it, 100% focus. If you want it, go get it.
Awesome. Well, for everybody out there, he is Stacy Richter. My name is Fong, and until next time, today is the day to lock your peak potential. We'll see you later.